Sorry, please, can we have the wheel? Please, let's have the wheel.
Welcome, sir.
Person never win election, you don't see gap.
We know you will win unless it is real. Why coming to it? Now, why you are in power? There's some certain things I want to ask. Like your successors, you are inheriting a very billions of debt. Now my question is, you said you want to take us from consumption level to production level. With those billions of dollars debt, how is it possible?
We don't expect a magic from you. And then my question is this: it's not really about going to school, because so many youths are even afraid of going to school right now because of unemployment and how they will be able to, like for me, female, how we'll be able to get the work because of some people trying to give work to people they know and people trying to sell their body and all that. So how will you be able to cope this unemployment in Nigeria? And then when you're going to school, you have this confidence that there is something waiting for you.
Let's enter into the teaching profession in Nigeria to ensure that the most qualified are employed, especially at the basic level and in private schools. But that is one of the challenges we're having currently in private and public schools. Most private schools, you see children who are not even secondary school graduates teaching these young ones, laying wrong foundations. How do you intend to tackle this and also create employment for teachers who graduate on yearly basis?
Just like I tell anybody, you can call me name on anything, but you say when I was in charge of Anambra State, the money was used government. We're not going to do that. And then coming to what you said about once the head is right, you can start changing. I was a governor in Anambra State. I worked with 30-member party center for values. Me too at the land. So I will allow him to contribute to this value proposition.
Now, all this thing about students being so distant is new in Nigeria. And let me explain. You know, when Macron was elected president of France at 39, I got a call, a remarkable, surprising call from a retired general called Alani Akinrinade. Those of us who know Nigerian history will know he was one of Nigeria's most respected army officers. And he said to me, Pat, young people are asking, how come a 39-year-old can be elected in France and at 39 you are still applying for work in Nigeria? And I said to them that part of the problem is that we have not groomed leaders. And the beginning of the grooming of leaders is in universities. If you check the history of all these young men emerging in Europe, in Austria, he named them all. He said they started their life in the student union movement. And he said, you, Pat, when people like you were students, you were interacting with those of us who were running Nigeria. But we, and he took the responsibility, he said, we, the army, killed the student union movement, and the politicians buried it. So we don't have leadership recruitment processes in our country anymore. As a 19-year-old student leader at the University of Nigeria, I used to meet with the number 2 person in Nigeria, Yaradua. That's the level of the interaction we had. I spoke this morning to President Obasanjo. I have known him since I was a student in the University of Nigeria when he was head of state at that time. And so we must reverse that. We must give our young people the opportunity to aspire, to engage, interact, and make decisions. I tell you, when every society is in trouble, it turns to its young. When I was leaving the United States to return home in 1982 after my PhD, the average American was in trepidation. President Jimmy Carter's period, wonderful man, but America's economy began to slide. And Americans were going to interviews looking for jobs that were not there. When Reagan won that 1980 election, he unleashed the American spirit and the youth of America arose. And so when I was leaving, the typical American young person will be preparing his CV, apply for a job that was not there. But when I returned on sabbatical many years later, the young senior graduating student was writing his business plan and expected to be a billionaire before his 26th birthday. The youth of America had created the .com revolution and they saved their country's economy. The youth of Nigeria will do that. We're relying on you to do that. All you need is good leadership, the kind that Peter Obi will offer. So, let's return to values. You know, values shape human progress. The thing that we don't think about enough is the long term. We are so episodic, so this moment, let me collect that naira and put in my pocket. And so you are going to look for a job in immigration, you pay 1 million naira. The person who is giving you that job thinks, boy, I'm happy, I've hit. But you know what? Because that person is not the kind of person who should be in that position, they will do things that will make their cousins poorer. Values determine whether we can actually go from consumption to production. Because production is about values anyway, the work ethic. Somebody who does not know that work produces the good that he harvests, does not know about investing, sowing, and reaping. He expects to be able to just capture. And so if you think of how that percolates, it comes down to the university lecturer who abuses the student. It comes down, everything falls around that scale. But if it's about doing the right thing, getting the output, you will see how society. Today, very few people want to invest in Nigeria. We are asking about jobs. Jobs are created when capital comes in and gets invested. But Nigeria is not on the scale for most countries because people are not sure that if there's a dispute in Nigeria, they will get a resolution in the courts. Yeah. People are not sure that if they come to Nigeria, some government policy will not change overnight and ruin their investments. So at the heart of everything are your values. We have to build a society that recognizes that truly values shape human progress. If we can build a society, there will be opportunity for everybody here and we can truly make progress.
All of us learning. Like you told you, values change society. He does everything. You talked about unemployment. He talked about value. Somebody talks about billions being owed. Am I right? Yes. Let me tell you, every country of the world owes. Every country of the world. Tell me countries you think that are doing very well.
No way.
No way. USA.
China. Morocco.
China. Singapore. Okay. We have 4 now. We have 4. The four we have are as follows: China, Norway, Singapore, US. United States, somebody's mentioned Japan. But United States is the biggest economy in the world. In terms of what we call GDP, it's about 23, call it trillion economy. Might be up to 25 now. But United States owns nearly 90%, if not more, of its GDP as debt. But for you, in a measure of what you call per capita, which is the real measure of, call it wealth, United States average per capita is about $50,000. Singapore, that I told you now, is only 130 million of their debt. But you know the greatest thing Singapore is doing now? Singapore is sustained by port operation. This port that we're talking about, this port that is in here, he knows. As I speak to you, Singapore have no place to build a seaport again. You know what they're doing? They're now building a port under the sea. They now want to develop under sea ports. So they now want to go below the water and put a port for 2050. Because they have no land to do the port again. So they say, okay, sit there here. Make you go under and put port. Here, we're here. Quarreling every day with the nonsense situation. People carry our money, chop, come the answer is excellency. Give the excellency. What we want to end is this question of governance. It doesn't cost anything for us to do the right thing. It's in fact actually more difficult for you to do the wrong thing. We want to bring your energy. Pat has said it. You will change the world. Those who are changing the world are like you. You might not even know you're far more intelligent than those who are changing the world. If they come to the type of school you are, they will fail. Go to be another. And now me, I don't go to school. Not because I go, I just say make I know what's in there inside here. So if you say today, the good school, Harvard, I don't go there. Cambridge, I don't go there. Oxford, I don't go there. Every one of the London School of Economics, Kellogg, I don't go. Columbia, I don't go. Where I go, I say, I know what is there inside here. Very simple. When I tell you, if they come for where they learn, zero. Happy profession. Unfortunately here, we have not decided to invest in education because we have not seen the value of education. Education is critical. It's number one, it's number two, it's number three. You must invest in it. And we're going to invest in it. And you will see it happen. We're not going to promote teachers for what they are. Teachers are one of those things, if you have them in any good society, even to do boss, do everything, they have a special condition and they're well paid. Here we just take teacher. He says the teacher is like, waiting this one come here. That's why we take our professors. This is the only country where counselor earns more money than a professor. This is the only country where we negotiate with bandits, but we can't negotiate with professors. That shows how bad it is. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. Professors in America earn more money than governors. But here, the local government chairman self, they control professor. Next one.
Please,
My name is John. I live and work in the United Arab Emirates. And I'm one of the Nigerians that Nigeria has happened to, and I had to go to somewhere else to Okay. I'm one of the Nigerians that Nigerians happened to, and I had to go somewhere else for greener pastures. My problem is, I understand, I agree, I am a huge supporter of your mandate. I believe in you. I am from Anambra. I saw what you did in Anambra. I saw it firsthand in Anambra. So my problem is, all of those things require funds, and right now, Nigeria is bankrupt. We have to tell ourselves the truth. And the only institution that gives us at least 80% or 70% of our revenue is the oil and gas industry. And we have a cancer in it. Yeah. We have cancer in it. I'm sorry I'm taking this time. I was in Abu Dhabi where there was an ADIPEC. ADIPEC is like an oil and gas show where companies come to showcase their latest technology. And I saw the lady there and asked him, what are you guys doing here? You don't even have the technology to monitor your pipelines, and you're coming to sell what to the world? He came with his bunch of entourage, people that just came to spend taxpayers' money. And as a Nigerian, I was embarrassed. I went to the tent of Saudi Aramco, that's this Kingdom of Saudi Arabia oil company, and I saw technologies. They want to monitor every pinch of oil in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I work with Abu Dhabi National Oil Company. I know how we do these things. It is easy to do, and Malek Kyari is asking me how do I want him to do it. A man who was MD of Comdi before being good managing director of NPC. Sir, the truth is, I want to know what you're going to do to NPC.
Thank you. Please, let's listen to him, please. Please, your audience.
Let me tell you, my brother. 1 minute. Let me tell you, my brother, the way you feel is the way most of us feel. The pain is too much because the pain you're going through is, this thing is not rocket science. So why is it not happening in my country? Because if it's rocket science, we say, oh, when we will be able to develop it? But we'll talk about it more. We'll share. He wouldn't tell you. Me, I will share with my number with you so that we'll learn how to do it. And we'll do it.
Thank you.
My name is Senje Mwashukusa. I'm from Abia State. Sir, I was a soldier, I joined Nigeria Army. Hey! Yes, sir. Very serious one. My mother is from Anambra State.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, sir, I was frustrated in Nigeria Army because of tribalism. I went to school, I became a graduate so that I can be commissioned. People from the other side, they don't believe in it. Even if you are begging them and paying them, no. Because of the tribalism in Nigeria Army, I love to serve my country. That's why I joined the army. For a woman, the only child of her mother, to join Nigeria Army, I paid the price, sir. I suffered in Nigeria because of tribalism. You stand with your Eastern person to talk, they will lock you in their room that you're planning meeting. So many frustrations, sir. And I say there is no need because if I should be in this army, I may commit something that I may be locked up and nobody will remember it, or they will delete me there. So with anger, I came out of Nigeria. With anger, because I was supposed to be commissioned. But there was an embargo on it. Because we go to school. Sure, there was a time I wanted to delete all the graduates in Nigeria.
Jesus.
Because you know in army now is obey your last order now. So you don't have any say. And obey the last order is a particular set. So sir, please, I'm begging you, sir, that when you come in, try to do something about Nigeria and sir. Okay. Thank you, sir. Woo!
Excellency, my name is Eji Bright Chile, and I happen to be the National President of Traders in Nigeria. Excellency sir, my question goes in this way. Today we are talking about production and consumption. And we are having challenges on areas that have to do with price of items in the market. And we discovered that Nigeria does not produce anything. And last time I was in a tour with the former Minister of Transportation. He took me down to Apapa. To Apapa.
Yes.
He said, why I invited you because you are the national president of Australia. And we have decided to link railway from Elimita directly to Apapa. There, the MD of NEMASA, MPA, and that of the traces of the order. And we discovered there was challenge in the very meeting that took place there, where the minister discovered that the price of clearance, the custom duties, are really at the high side. And we are crying of the price of the items in the market. As a trader or an importer, you clear their goods at high price. Definitely, you are geared to maximize profit, not to incur any loss. Sir, with what Nigeria is passing through today in this great nation, concerning, because we're all aware that everybody goes to market, what are you trying to do on the area that have to do on the price of things in the market, and how to deal with the issue that have to do with the importation and the custom tax?
Let me try with you. Nigerian mainstay of income, if I'm right, what you said, is from oil. That is where the problem is. Actually, madam, just wait for 1 minute. Just 1 minute. Actually, let me tell you, oil contributes less than 10% of Nigerian GDP. It will shock you. It contributes less than 10% of Nigerian GDP. However, oil is about 50% of federal government revenue and about 80% of our foreign exchange revenue. And that is where the problem is. The problem is that when we talk about it going from consumption to production, that is where it lies. Abu Dhabi is not up to anything. It's a tiny country. It's only one of the states of Nigeria. So it's less than River State. And in terms of life science, it's less than River State. River State is about 11,000 square kilometers. So Abu Dhabi will be less. So we are not talking about, we're not comparing the same thing. We're 220 million people. 220 million people living on 923,000 square kilometers of land. Our exports cannot be dependent on oil, which is a diminishing asset. We have room for more. We have 50%, 60% of our arable land is uncultivated. The biggest economy in America is California. California is not the highest producer of oil in America. It's Texas. Yet Texas is not number one, it's not number two, it's not number three in American economy. California is. And what does California live on? Their major thing is agriculture and knowledge. We have states like Niger. We have states like Boronu. We have states like Taraba. They are among the 10 poorest states we have in Nigeria. Those 3 states can turn around Nigeria. Just 3 of them. can make Nigeria richer from the money they get from exports. Increase. We're not producing anything. That's why your price, because you're importing everything. That's why it's different. I'm talking about importation. They're not producing anything. Niger State is 76,300 square kilometers of land. They have vast land, more fertile land that can feed Nigeria. Total money Netherlands, Niger State just from what you're sharing is about maximum 50 billion. If they have done 5% of what Netherlands did, 5%, just 5%, for having 2.5 times the land, if you use 650 today to times $6 billion, $6 billion, it will give you 3.9 trillion.
Wow.
It will not be by my tongue. It is your tongue to take back. Next year's election will depend on 3 things. 1, on people who can trust. These are some of the things I want to show. No more dancing and music. Let's survive this. We must sort out this problem. We cannot continue this way. More than 3 million people living in a country and are poor out of 200. When we have other big countries like China, how can Nigeria have more people living in poverty than China that is 1.4 billion, than India that is 1.4 billion? Every other big country of ours, like ours, are doing well, except us. What happened to us? That is why you people must join hands for us to stop this. It is not for you to go and say, it's not my business, they're going to give me 5,000. 5,000 for what? We don't know.
Nigerian students, greatest Nigerian students.